Good evening. Today we're going to work with data types like strings and booleans. We're going to use some user input and we're going to make a little short program here. So let's go. First, get into your terminal and make sure you're in your directory that has all of your code inside, which is a directory inside of the github.com directory. I'm going to make one more. If I press ls, I'll list. I have one directory already. We'll make another one called 1. We'll cd into that. Let's change directory. Okay, and that's empty. Okay, now we'll first initialize a new module. So type go mod init, paste that, change all of the backslashes to forward slashes. Okay, press enter. We're good to go. Touch main.go to create your main.go file, and then we're going to code that main.go file. Great. Okay, so now we're going to, so let's zoom in a bit. We'll import package main. Sorry, we'll declare the package as main. We'll import the standard formatting just to start, and we'll run our first function, the main function, to make sure everything is writing. So we'll just write format print line, and we'll type program started ... Save that. Great. So now let's go back to the terminal and we are going to run that. Okay, and so to run that I will type go run main.go, and it looks like everything is fine. So let's get back into Visual Studio. So some common data types are booleans, which are either true or false, and in binary that would be a 1 or 0 respectively. Strings, those can be of any size, and it's usually any text or words that you see. So program started, that is a string, and you know that it's a string because it's in double quotes. Okay, we can declare a variable like var colon equals, or you can call it any name. Let's call it str1 and colon equals hello. And you can print that inside of print line. I can make a comma, and I can put in string. So if I ran that in the terminal, let's clear, go run main, you would get, oh, we have a little error here. It says syntax error, non-declaration statement outside of function. Let's see what we did wrong. And it looks like this variable needed to be declared inside the main function. So let's declare it there. There are no red underlines. That should work. Up arrow. Good. Now it said program started hello. Okay. You can also create a variable like a boolean, like is true. Okay, and we can say no, it isn't true. So we can also print that there is true and see what happens. Okay, so if we print that out, if we run this, it'll say program started hello false. Okay, that doesn't make too much sense. So we now know that we can print a few different variables, and so what we want to do now is we want to create a sort of program where if if the value or the variable has one value, we'll print one thing, and if it has another value, then we'll print something else. So let's say we want it to print something if someone is hungry. Let me delete all of this. So let's say is hungry colon equals false. That's how we declare something as a variable. Okay, and we'll do an if statement. So, and we'll have two different lines of code that will run depending on what what is hungry is. So if is hungry, then we'll say format print line go make some food. Okay. All right. Now, if the first statement is not true or is the opposite, if the value is the opposite of the first statement, then we will write, then we can write format.println do not make any food yet. Okay, so is hungry is false. That means this first line of code won't run. It will skip automatically to this else statement and run the second line. Let's test to see that if that's true. So go run main.go. It says do not make the food yet. Okay, so now if I change the value of this variable to true, it should print go make some food. Very good. Okay, now we've done this. It's a static program, and it's not very dynamic. What we want to do now is we want to allow the user to give us some input. Okay, so we're going to use some code that will need us to import buffer IO, and we'll also need to import operating system. Okay, and over here we'll create a new scanner. Okay, scanner : equals buffio.new scanner. Okay, and we're going to take from the command line from the standard input. Okay, and now we can say, so we start with is hungry. Let's start with is hungry is false. Okay, innocent until proven guilty. Okay, and then we're going to get some input here. We're going to say, we're going to ask a question first to see what the person wants. Okay, and we can say, are you hungry? And then we can add Y for yes and for no. We tell them what kind of information we want them to give us. Then we run the scanner to get user input, and then we can we can do something that will change the Boolean value. So we can say if now we actually have to write the value to a variable. So let's say this is the variable that will store result equals scanner.text. Okay, and then we can say if result equals double equal sign rather than to a sign, but to get an equals y. Then we should say that is hungry is true. We assign the value of true. Okay, else if result equals no, then we're going to assign the value of is hungry equals false. And we'll add one more situation. If they give us something other than a y or n, we could say, we can give a print to the line that we did not understand. The input was not expected. Okay, we're going to exit now. And we can also show what the input was. And so I will use, instead of printline, I'll use printf. And we'll say here is what the input is. It's a string. And we'll put result here. Okay, there, good. And we also probably want to exit the code. So let's do that here. We'll say operating system exit with exit code 1, I believe is an error code. Okay, so now that's going to trigger, this is going to trigger the change of the is hungry, and we'll get some sort of result. Let's give it a try. This is blue for some reason. Could not use tag. Okay, maybe it's fine. Let's just try. Press up, run, and it says, are you hungry? I'm going to say yes. It says, go make some food. Let's run it again. It says, are you hungry? Type no. It says, do not make any food yet. Let's do one more. And let's say, are you hungry? I'll put ABC. and it says the input was not expected, exit ABC, exit status 1. So there you go. That is how to use, get some user input, how to work with booleans, if statements, and strings. Thanks you for watching.